Hi guys, welcome back to Freedom Brigade Nation. We have Andrea and Kendra here, and I did not realize until right before the show, two of my favorite people have names that sound just alike. It's messing with both of them.
When you're yelling at us, we both go, yes.
We're both like, what? Yes. Oh, you guys, it's what a world, man. That's crazy. Two of the funnest people on the planet. That's awesome. Well, you guys, we are revisiting something today that it talks about society. You know, I sent a picture to Kendra this morning that I'm going to have to send to you, Andrea.
Okay.
Society is going downhill fast, and I wish I would have thought ahead, because I made a video just for Kendra to kind of that amplified the shoes, but I had to take my daughter to an emergency orthodontist appointment this morning. And I'm at the orthodontist, and it's in the middle of Tulsa. And this lady comes in, and she's in her mid 40s, and she is wearing pink slippers. This is like 9-10 o'clock in the morning. And I've just got to say that when the standard to going outside, especially with your daughter to a doctor, is not to put shoes on, I'm just saying, these are little things. She's probably a lovely lady that is not a bad person, but there is a certain standard and class in society that we are losing so quickly. And so anyway, I had to point that out, because Kendra said, well, I wear pink slippers in public. And I know she was lying to me. She said,
I feel judged.
I am judging you is what I am definitely judging you.
Well, you know, she's not going to go home at 2 p.m. and put regular shoes on. Like, if you start at 9 a.m. in pink slips, that's...
And they were fuzzy pink slippers too. I have to say, this grown woman, they were fuzzy. Like, I wish I had brought the picture, but I may just send it to you. I will see if I can get that up here, but just to do it without her face so that I don't.
I have a couple times left my house on accident with my slippers on, because I work from here so much that, like, from the waist up, I try to look nice, and then from the waist down, I'm sometimes like,
I would
sweatpants and slippers.
And been like, what is society coming to? This from the lady.
But I don't have pink slips. I have little black slips that look kind of like normal shoes. But I was walking with my kids one day, running them around, and I went, oh, I have my slippers on.
I actually have bunny slippers that I have worn in public.
We're done. So Kendra, I'm sure, is going to go do something professional with me and wear the pink slippers just to give me a hard time.
I think we should do a fundraiser for the Oklahoma GOP, and it should be like they do the red shoe one.
Oh, she's going to do this.
We're going to do pink fuzzy slipper fundraiser.
Just to irritate me, right? Just to... I am concerned about society, and I'm concerned about my choice of friends right now.
Well, you know, Seth Keshel, our good friend Seth Keshel, everyone should be following him and his Substack. Yeah. He's one of the most beautiful writers. I just love everything he puts out there. Beyond him being brilliant with the election fraud issues.
About the slippers.
So he posted this morning something along the lines on his Substack, like you, where he said, in this moment in time, human beings have more access to information than we've ever had. Like, the average human being, from your phone to the internet to everything, like, everyone has more access to information, yet we are arguably the dumbest we've ever been. Common sense is gone, and people are probably dumber than they've ever been, although we have access to more information than ever before.
So this goes back to the fluoride that they've had in the water for years that don't really help your teeth, for the record. They've lied about that. It dumbs you down. In many different ways that they have with the immunizations and the crap they're spraying in the skies, which they've been doing for decades. I remember seeing them when I was a kid, right? So we're being dumbed down.
Yeah.
And
the public education hasn't done us any favors. Nope. So.
No, they have not. As a matter of fact, I'm really excited to announce this morning that my daughter on her own decided to get out of the government schools. So we are in the process of that right now. It's great. I got to call and tell them this morning. I'm excited.
Good job.
Now all of them are being homeschooled. It's great.
Amen.
Anyway, I do want to go back to something we've been talking about, because part of this control, and part because it's about control, this non-critical thinking, which we've seen the government schools try to do. We had this horrible case that we're going to revisit today a little later about the abuse of DHS, and how not every, how do I want to word this? Not every way they handle kids has been upstanding, has been with integrity. And there are accusations that they're actually nefarious. And so I want to talk to some people that have had some interesting stories with our DHS. This is Big Brother on a scary level, because they're dealing with kids and trying to get between the kids and the parents. It started out like we had a senator on that came and said, you know, we made this rule because it started out that we wanted to protect abused kids. But DHS in some circumstances have taken some of the liberties given to them to protect abused kids and have harassed good parents. And
it's a scary rabbit hole, because what Tom and I have been doing on this, we're working with you guys on this, and then nationwide, we're getting phone calls all over the country with similar horrible, heartbreaking stories. And it's one of those rabbit holes. You put your conspiracy theorist hat on, you know, and you start doing your research. They're incentivized, just like so much corruption in our government. They get incentivized on both sides. Why are we incentivizing them to pull kids out of people's? They get paid on all sides to do these horrible things. So that's one of the reasons why it happens. Yeah.
Well, you're gonna love what we've got a Roberta Lewis with us later today. We're gonna bring her on, what she's got to say about that and what happened with her child. Mm-hmm. They held her child hostage until the money ran out. Then all of a sudden he was okay.
There you go. Home. Follow the money.
But I want to talk about it too. But before we get to her, I do want to talk to T and Peter. This is a couple that actually God put in my path for one thing, and we ended up talking about another thing and find out we have like 100 things in common. They're amazing people. As a matter of fact, Andrea, now that you've met them, I imagine that I will never get them back, but that's okay. They're really awesome people. T and Peter, welcome.
I'm going to steal them. Okay, here they go.
Oh, you're going to love them. Hey guys, how are you?
Hi. Hello. Yeah, great to be here. Thank you for having us.
It's great. You have your own story with DHS, which kind of got you on this path of speaking out, correct?
Yeah.
So tell us about what happened.
So mine is, again, I want to say first and foremost, before I go into this, just incredible story that is difficult, but I'm not an anomaly. I want to just say that. And I want to just say, too, I'm one of many, many parents that have gone through something, and I want to educate people on. It's called government-sanctioned kidnapping and trafficking. And I wanted that to sink in for a second, because
that's a really scary term.
Right.
Those are scary words put together. Government-sanctioned kidnapping and trafficking.
Correct.
That's terrifying. Go ahead.
Right. So my personal experience, I have a horrendous case that's it's not one of the things you want to be known for. Obviously, I have one child, and he went through 3 kidnappings. This went through, and I'm not going to go into the whole entire elaborate story because it's so convoluted and it's long. But anyway, it goes into 3 states and 2 continents. And this is the Jonah Reef story, okay? And this is a case that goes into different levels of your corruption, that goes into your judiciaries, okay? And this goes into your CPS, your DHRs, okay? This is an apparatus really to steal children. And again, as you mentioned, Andrea, this goes into your federal funds incentives. These people absolutely have, it's a ring of officials that are bad actors, quote unquote, a legal term. I'm sure you guys know what that means. And so it goes into these guys who are involved in what actually the bottom floor of this is called legal kidnapping. And so this is where this stems from, going into higher levels of government-sponsored kidnapping. So I went through that with 3 kidnappings that my child ended up being trafficked out of the United States into Australia and disappeared from there in 2013. Now, I was one of the blessed parents that had forensic federal guys helping me. I was like, it's crash course on constitutional law, I will tell you. and ended up getting to file a case in DC, who took jurisdiction of the case in 2013 in children's. They opened a case with State Department children's issue side. We had to file in federal court a proffer of evidence criminal complaint. I had to do a white paper that ended up going to the Bureau of State. But again, I had people that the Lord put in my path that helped me do that, that even, like I said, got a case up with the passport police. Most parents would never know to do any of that, I have to say. So anyway, it's to make a long story short, it set me on my path into working with those that investigate all over the country, all over the world, legal kidnappings that go into government sanctioned kidnapping, that even goes into what we know today as medical kidnapping, different types of government kidnapping on every different level that would just shock you, I have to say.
I'm just going to add a couple of pieces here of just the, the highlights of what happened. Again, 6 weeks before Jonah's 5th birthday, November 5th of 2012, he was kidnapped for the third and final time.
Right.
He was then later trafficked out of the country to New South Wales, Australia, where 2 weeks later he showed up on Facebook in nude photos being profiled for black market adoption. That was the last time that he officially was seen. And then shortly after that, as T was describing things that she went through, she was really making waves in Washington, D.C., that then she was kidnapped, thrown into 2 gulags, one in Alabama and then one in Southern California. And it's a story for the ages, and the truth shall not be stopped, because it has been buried for some time, because all of us here will say, wow, I never knew about that. I never heard about it. I didn't know about it either. Some people did, and there's others that are saying, oh, I remember this case. It's coming back with a fury now.
Right, because this is going to go into different people that were high level. It goes, unfortunately, I don't know if I'm allowed to say names here, but it goes into people that were in our governments, okay, that go into people like Kamala Harris, and you go into Clinton Foundation and some of the Obama administration. So this goes into abuse of power, okay, is what we're talking about here. And this is literally, it's at all levels of government. And one of the apparatuses, it's a corporation, CPS, it gets used in cases like this. And I want your audience to know that there is amazing, amazing parents out there everywhere that this is happening to. I'm just one of those parents. I didn't have a drug history. I was in ministry. I'd worked in the film industry. I had a normal background. I didn't have any criminal history. So I want people to know that this is happening at an epidemic proportions, that parents are being targeted and children are being stripped from normal parents every day.
Yeah. And by the way, Andrea, as you said, is the incentive, the incentives, that's because they're corporations.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything's a corporation.
Yeah. I was just speaking with some individuals, because I'm working on criminal justice reform issues too. And I was speaking to a man who'd been incarcerated in and out of the system his whole life. So in and out of, foster care systems. And then he was incarcerated for a long time. And we were talking about how, there's parole officers and things like this. This is just another level of all the control and the money making, like you said, of the corporation.
Right.
There's parole officers out there that are getting like 90% fail rate. Everyone that they work with goes back into the system. And it's almost built that way, and again, once they take your kids and try to strip you of your parental rights, I mean, here in Nevada, I'm in Nevada, so we're like the second highest human traffic state. And because of the casinos and where we're located and stuff, there's just a lot of bad things that happen. And I was working on a gubernatorial campaign, and we were talking to the foster care workers. Right. And we had some whistleblowers come out and say, there's really weird things happening. They take kids to a hotel, and then we lose the kid while they're trying to move them, into another home or whatever. But so kids get put into hotels, and then they just go up missing. And then we lose these kids forever, and it's impossible for parents to get them back.
Absolutely. And so one of those apparatuses too, I actually have an executive director in a coalition too that I also work with, which is a Save One Soul Task Force Coalition. And she actually used to take down child rings and work for the DOJ. She's on the private side DOJ at this point in time. But one of the things she also ran into was obviously what happened in my own personal case, Human and Health Services Agency. So you heard JJ Carroll and Tara Rodas, actually saying, hey, to Congress, Human Health Services Agency is one of those apparatuses stealing children. Well, my son, Jonah Reef, is one of those cases that did the black market adoption, okay, through that apparatus. And what people don't know is, again, you have what's called Refugee and Resettlement Services that's above them, but people don't know that the adjacent agency, guess what? It's a corporation, CPS. So these guys are working internally. And why you can't go, hey, why can't we criminally go after these guys? Because you can't violate laws inside of a corporation now, can you? So what do you do?
So you guys jumped way ahead. I'm still stuck on your baby was in Australia and the last time you saw him.
Yeah.
Did I misunderstand that? The last time you saw him was on the dark web, and he was compromised in a way that nobody ever wants to see their kids.
Absolutely. And it was a black film that was going up and down his body, his little body in a shower, like a yellow shower tile scene. And I had to identify my own child, by the way, sitting with
and they've never found him.
They have not found him. That's correct.
Now, again, this goes through the highest level. She's already named some names. It goes, let's just put that word out there. This is a bloodline hierarchy case as to why they wanted Jonah. And it goes to every big name that you know. And I like to always say, we always talk about the they. Who's the they? Every political figure that we will name right now is a pawn. It goes above them. They are the Luciferian bloodline families that run the world. And once you start going down the rabbit hole, you start learning, you say, oh, wow. Yeah, the Old Testament is true, you know?
And how long ago was this?
2012, November 5th of 2012 was the last time I saw my child in person. And so when he actually left the United States, actually was February 26th of 2013. So we know that through the Bureau of State. Because again, I had to identify my child.
What was the reasoning? And if you said it, I apologize that I missed it. What was the reasoning they gave for kidnapping?
They made it look like I was what they did was they did a fake custody battle. They made it look like I was married to a man named Mr. Sullivan. And by the way, I just got married for the first time this year to Peter Hogan.
January of 2025 is the first time she has ever been married, for the record.
So this is how, again, but this is how
they just made up a case that wasn't there. Does Mr. Sullivan exist?
He exists, but it gets into, oh my gosh, okay, this is going to get into something even more interesting. You're going to get into how you have DOD and you have people that are in your intelligence world, shall we say. We've all heard about the CIA finders, those kind of people that are working with CPS, foster care services, that are how these children go missing and they ended up in those hotels. You get into those type of agencies that are behind the scenes that are, this is how the children literally are used, and they use them to compromise politicians, different people at different levels. This is your supply chain of children that are taken through your judiciary. That's what that is. That's how this was. Yeah.
So is it safe to say, because Epstein is something, so you're using a lot of words that maybe some people that are just waking up, that they don't understand just how deep everything goes.
Very deep.
They may be like, okay, I'm turning you off because I can't hear you anymore. But Epstein has been proven that that's something that even the mainstream is being forced to recognize as legitimate. So you're saying it is along those lines. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
That's correct.
Yep.
That's correct. So I want to just say this too. So when you have like family courts, as we all know, they started back in the 80s. Okay. They didn't exist prior to that. So this was just another type of apparatus created to create corporations with CPS. Okay. And you had the foster care system that slowly started to emerge. But again, you had intelligence, you have your certain, like your, again, you have, I want to say they're DOD type of organizations. Okay. I'll just say that. But these guys work together with your intelligence companies or your CIA, and even FBI. There's some that are even involved. I hate to break it to people. That's hard to hear, I know. But what happens is you have a tier system is what it is. It goes into, again, it's federal funds incentives. Clinton put it in place. It's actually Bill Clinton put in place. It's the No Child Left Behind Act. I'm sure some of you remember that. So what that did was that it was federal funds incentives. It incentivized your judiciary, it incentivized your CPS, your social services, and it went into foster care system. So then you had people that were incentivized, and even in adoptions, gray and black market adoptions, to steal children through your judiciary is what the issue is. And it became literally so lucrative that you had the intelligence agency found a way to use that apparatus, is what it is, at different levels, to become, that becomes the supply chain of children to use to traffic them at different types of levels, is what it is. And now we know all the way to Epstein, this is, you had a supply chain. There's no one can pretend that didn't happen, but this is happening all over the world in all your judiciaries.
And so let's go here now, because all we're going to do right now is keep injecting some truth bombs. But so Charity, obviously one of the ways we connected was also about with JJ Humphrey, representative in Oklahoma, and we were just with him in DC last month, where we were getting to know each other, and he was a big help.
We've had him on this show before. Yeah.
Yes, he's amazing. And so he's talking in terms of the molestation and the waterboarding of children in the state of Oklahoma in the detention centers.
Right.
Do you know what that is?
Does anybody know what that means?
That's satanic ritual abuse. That's what's happening here. So now we've heard those words. We got to put it together, because this is what's always been done. This goes back to Nazi Germany, and it's been brought forward. The intelligence has always been a part of that. It's this whole trauma-based mind control is perfected to the nth degree. It's on everybody's tongue now. Many are saying, okay, I've heard this now. But we got to understand that's exactly what JJ's talking about right there in Oklahoma. That's what's happening.
Yeah, no, there's a lot that happens. Really, I don't think that there's any place that it's not happening.
Right.
If you think that it's not happening where you are, you just aren't talking to the right people.
If it's happening in Oklahoma, if it's happening in Oklahoma, then I would say I'm in trouble, because I'm out here in Nevada.
People in Oklahoma are good, conservative Americans. Right. All 77 counties voted for Trump 3 times because we want truth. We care about freedom. We care about America. Tom and Andrea like to tease me because when they want to come do events here, I'm like, we can't do it on Wednesday. And they're like, what? I'm like, it's a church night. You cannot do things on a church night in Oklahoma. Nobody will come. They're going to go to church. And so, I mean, we're called the Bible Belt, Bible thumpers. These are Christians. These are good people.
Right.
And it's happening still. Right. This brings us in. I want to introduce you guys to Roberta Lewis. Roberta, are you back there? Roberta is amazing. Now, she is going to be here to talk to us about one case that I have never publicly put a name on. So I will let Roberta decide if she wants to do that. But she got involved in being an advocate for Americans, for freedom, because she has her own tussle with DHS. You want to tell us a little about that, Roberta?
Yeah. In 2021, my 14-year-old son was medically kidnapped. He put into the mental health system. There were so many bad I didn't know it at the time. When you're going through something like that for the first time and you've never been in trouble in your life, we live in this country where you're told over and over again that, you do right, you tell the truth, you do the right things. And this country, the government will protect you. Trust the government, right? And I'm a veteran, and we lived by that code. Trust the government. We're here to help. And so in 2021, my 14-year-old son went on a hunting trip with his family. He goes on a hunting trip every year with his family. He made some videos. He posted some photos. And a counselor from his school, who was an implant here from California, this was her first year here, saw that I let my child play with AR-15s and guns, and she lost it. And she called in law enforcement. She called in DHS. We were put in front of a judge who wanted to charge my son with domestic terrorism, threats and intimidation. And by the way, I just want to say this video and these photos were posted on Snapchat. I have never seen the video or photos. They had expired before anybody could see them. I had never seen them. The judge has never seen them. Law enforcement has never seen them. Doctors have never seen them. And so we just kind of had to go on people's, memory of what these photos were, what the video was about. And so this judge ordered my son into a inpatient mental health treatment. And this was on a Friday. On Monday morning, I went down to the courthouse to get the court order to make sure I was doing everything I was supposed to be doing. I didn't want to be in trouble. I didn't want to make trouble for my son. And I learned that not only was there not a court order, that judge was not even in court that day. I mean, she wasn't even in the courthouse that day. So you have a judge that came in on her day off. Nobody knew she was in court. She orders my kid into inpatient mental health. Nobody knows about it. Nobody's tracking it. Nobody in the government knows my kid is in this mental health hospital. And so I went back to the hospital and I said, hey, I want my kid. And they called the cops on me. They had me removed from the hospital. Told me they weren't giving me my kid back. And then they held him for 14 days. And what I learned after that is when DHS takes your child into custody, they put your child on state-funded Medicaid, which we call here Sooner Care. And Sooner Care will pay for exactly 14 days of mental health treatment without a diagnosis. So what I learned during that was we have a hospital here in Oklahoma that held my son there in order to get paid by Medicaid for the 14 days. And when it was all said and done and they couldn't diagnose with my child because my child does not have any mental health conditions, they called me on that 14th day at 5 o'clock in the morning and told me to come get him. Come get this domestic terrorist, come get him. And they had him packed up in trash bags and waiting out front on a bench for me to come and get him.
So he was only a danger to society and to you while they had money to have him in the hospital. Once they no longer got paid to have him there, then it was like, oh no, now he's fine. And it just happened to be the day.
Excuse me, I have a cold. Yes, that's exactly what happened. We, when I started speaking up about this, everybody started backtracking. Law enforcement started backtracking. DHS started backtracking. Files started disappearing. All of a sudden, I can't get a police report from school that day. School doesn't want to be involved in it. As a matter of fact, the day before school was to resume after Christmas break, my son was in a mental hospital on Christmas of 2021. That's where he spent Christmas of 2021. When school was to resume, the principal calls me and tells me, do not bring him to school on Monday. He's not coming to school on Monday. We need to figure out what we're going to do with him. And I was just shocked. I was like, what are we going to do? What do you mean? What do you mean? What did this kid do? And so what the school ended up doing was suspending my child for 9 weeks for irresponsible use of the internet, irresponsible use of my internet at my home on my device. And he was kicked out of school for that. And when I went to, DHS, I went to law enforcement to get records. Of course, I went to the courthouse to get the court order. None of this, it's like it never happened. I mean, it just looks like it never happened. And my belief in knowing what I know now was that they were going to keep him. They were going to keep him as long as I sat down and I cooperated, and as long as they could get more money out of him, and as long as that hospital could get money out of him. Their goal was to put him inpatient mental health, to long-term inpatient mental health, so that they could drag the money out of Sooner Care. DHS's goal was to put him into their custody so that they could get money out of him. And had my child been younger and not quite had a good head on his shoulders, I think he would have rolled over as well, because the torture that they were putting him through in this hospital, I mean, they were getting him up in the middle of the night, interrogating him. asking him questions, trying to get him to admit that he was suicidal or homicidal. They would give him melatonin to make him to where he would go to sleep. And then they would go in at 3 o'clock in the morning and get him up. And one of the things that I learned after I got him out was that after they had given him melatonin to make him sleep, one night they went in about 3 o'clock in the morning, got him up out of bed, and had him sign his own AMA paperwork to keep him in the hospital at 14 years old. And so, I got a call from the Oklahoma County District Attorney's Office. They told me they were filing charges on me, that if I did not stay out of the hospital and leave my child where he was at, they were filing charges on me, and I told him, go ahead, send me a court date and we'll just go to court. But they never did. They lost those records like all of the other records. It was like it never happened. And if I wouldn't have had the wherewithal to start recording conversations and to start getting everything in writing, I started sending emails, I started screenshotting. That's the only record that we have that any of this ever happened, is the conversations I started recording and I started tracking.
This is terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
And this reminds me, in my area, we've been fighting corrupt school boards. So we talk about, I'm a homeschool advocate, and I talk about how but I also get scared that they can come and try to take my kids because of me being homeschooled. But then having my kids in the school is terrifying, or even around people in the school, because there's this mentality. And I think, you guys were talking about it as well. We talk about this with Epstein, where he actually just thought that these young girls weren't even worth anything, like not even human beings. In the school system here, I've had people on our school boards, these liberal, satanic, awful people who run our school system, say that they don't think the parents should have any say, that the parents shouldn't have any rights, and that the parents are actually so stupid. They see us as lesser than them. And so that's why that teacher was so bold as to say, oh, we just need to rip this kid away from them. They felt like they had enough evidence to take your child away because they see us as lesser. They want the government to control our kids, and they think that taking our parental rights away is no big deal because they don't see us as human beings.
That's right. That's right. If I may interject too, Andrea. So exactly. So what these people do is they have people that will be in the school board that are connected to somebody in social services, like literally in the same community is what they do. And then they have somebody that's you have doctors that they own. We'll just say the they. That's why Peter kept going on about the they. And after a while, you find out, oh my gosh, this is a spider web of various officials that actually are all connected. And it's so shocking because you're like, how in the world? Like for me, like my case, went into 3 different states, as I might have mentioned earlier. And you start to see how on God's green earth are people in every area that act the same. They actually literally are committing, crimes upon the court that are identical. You're like, how can this be? Because this is literally, it gets into a spider web of people literally that are placed. They are all connected. And I know it's crazy. I know that sounds so mind blowing of how that can be, but it's literally, it gets into a dark agenda of people that are, it gets into what they believe and what they're hoping to put out and control the people. Okay. It's about controlling the outcome out of the proceedings, right? In each different area or court case, but they use a community of people that are involved around the country, around the world doing this.
In my small community, I started getting, just like Charity, just like Kendra, all of us, and all of you guys now, it's like I started looking at the school board and the county commissioners and even the library boards, and I started realizing that what General Flynn's been telling us from the get-go of our fight is that those community seats are very, very important to saving our entire country.
Yes.
And I started realizing the reason they want these evil people sitting on your library board and on your school boards is because that's an extremely important place for them to keep control. You might only pay attention to your presidential races and your gubernatorial races and your senatorial races. If you're not paying attention to your school board, your library board, your county commissioners, and when you go in and try to flip those tables, like Queen Charity does, she goes in and flips tables, you'll be like, how are they so upset over this one tiny seat? This little, you think, inconsequential school board seat or library seat they start threatening your family.
Yes.
Tom and I and all of us, we get death threats all the time. Just because I go in and try to run for a school board seat, all of a sudden, how am I a domestic terrorist? It's because that is where they control these things.
Well, first, let's welcome Tom to the show. Thank you for joining us, Tom Renz, everybody. It's an honor that he's coming on with us.
Better late than never.
I don't know how much of this you caught, but you need to catch up, and you need to get with T and Peter. Their son was trafficked. Roberta, you have met her, and we haven't even touched the story yet that I have left unnamed. Roberta, tell us about what's happening right now. By the way, T and Peter were also called in on this case. I met them, a week and a half ago? Mm-hmm. And they said, oh, the case you were telling us about, J.J. Humphreys got us in on. And so tell us, I know our listeners have heard about it, but I haven't given it a name on purpose. Right. But I do believe that's more public now.
Yeah. So the case we're talking about is the Mooney case. Mm-hmm. And what it involves is it's a 17-year-old autistic, highly functioning autistic child. His mother he's always been in his mother's care. His mother has done well to keep him very healthy and alive for 17 years. And last year, Preston unfortunately came down with leukemia. And, the day that his mother got that diagnosis, she called me. I think I was probably the first person she called, and she was devastated. And we talked about it, and she was so scared, and she was listening to the doctors, and she was doing everything the doctors told her to do. And I talked to Dana every day. I've talked to her every day for probably 3 years. And, through his chemo treatments, we were talking every day. She's telling me, he's doing bad today, or, he's not.
Dana's the mother, correct? Dana's the mother. Yes. Dana's the mother. Not everyone our listeners may not realize that. Okay.
Yes. So, we're talking every day, and I'm just watching the decline of this bright, shining, healthy kid who calls me every day on FaceTime to tell me, the newest team sport scores or what's happening in politics. When I say very highly functioning, I mean, think Elon Musk, very smart, just kind of awkward, but I like awkward, so I like him. And you just saw the life drain out of him when they put him on chemo treatments. And so him and his mother, they did the chemo treatments for 8 or 9 months. And the life just kind of goes out of this kid. He can't even get up anymore. He's tired. He's getting poked and prodded every other day. They're checking this or they're checking that. And so he tells his mom, he says, I don't want to do this anymore. And his mom did what any other scared parent would do. She started researching, and she started researching alternative treatments, alternative doctors. And I mean, she would call me every day with her newest find or her newest research or a new doctor that she had talked to or a meeting that she's got with a new expert on the subject. And we did this for months. I mean, she left work and would go meet with these doctors. And so she finally found a neuropath doctor that was willing to treat and to run the testing that she wanted ran. Most importantly, she wanted some genetic testing done because she believed that Preston had some genetic mutations and that's why maybe the chemo wasn't working like it was supposed to be working. And so that's what this new neuropath doctor did. The first thing they did is they went in and they did the genetic testing, and they found out that Preston has several genetic mutations, and it's likely why he's autistic in the first place. And so learning about those genetic mutations and learning about what those mutations do to the body and how the body cannot methylate certain toxins, it can't get toxins out of the body. And so with chemotherapy, what are we doing? We're just putting toxin after toxin after toxin in the body. And you have somebody with a gene mutation who cannot get rid of those toxins. And so they're just wreaking havoc in this child's body. And so under the care of the neuropath doctor. The mom and the son, they start, vitamins and minerals and kind of natural therapies to, some detox treatments, some natural therapies to for the leukemia, to treat the leukemia. And Dana had a family member who did not like what she was doing. She didn't like that she was taking him off the chemo, and she ended up calling DHS on the family. And so DHS came to the family's door to do a welfare check on the child, and he was in the backyard with his dad doing yard work, mowing the grass. I mean, he's sweaty. He's mowing the grass. And one of the things Preston loves to do is he loves to mow the grass. I've asked him to come out to my house several times this summer, but he wouldn't do it. But, he loves being outside. He loved doing yard work. And so they came in. They saw, she says, here he is. He's alive. You can leave now. And, after that initial visit, she kind of didn't cooperate with them anymore. And so they kind of lured her out of her house and said, we just need to finish, tie up some loose ends on this case. We would like to meet you at your neuropath doctor's office and finalize this report, and everybody's done and everybody goes home and we never see each other again. And so, Dana called me on the way to that appointment, and she just, something in her gut told her it wasn't right. And we talked about it, and we talked about what would happen. And when she got there, DHS had a pickup order signed by a judge to take her child into custody. And so they lured her into the house under false pretenses, or out of the house under false pretenses, and then took her child out of her custody. And they immediately took the child to OU Children's Hospital. And one of the first things that OU Children's Hospital wanted to do was a blood transfusion. And when the mother said, is there any way that we can, I don't want him to, he's not been vaccinated for COVID. I don't want him to have COVID vaccinated blood. They wrote down in the medical chart that the mother was being difficult, for asking legitimate medical questions. So they already had her written down as a hostile, a hostile patient or a hostile mother. And, when DHS and the doctors tried to talk to her, they would not listen to her neuropath. They would not listen to her concerns. They weren't going to do it that way. They were going to do the chemotherapy, and she was going to sign for all of it. And that's kind of how DHS gets away with doing everything that they're doing. They'll tell you that we'll let you stay in here with your child as long as you sign all of these, releases. You sign for the chemotherapy. And so years from now, when we go back and we try to fight this case in court, the courts, all they're going to see is that mom signed for the chemotherapy. Mom must have wanted it. And we're not going to know in a courtroom of people that don't know this story. We're not going to know that mother was under duress or mother was coerced into doing it or threatened into doing that. And that's kind of how DHS has gotten away with this for as long as they have, because they coerce parents into signing the paperwork to do it.
That's horrifying. That is, yeah. It's unacceptable. T and Peter, I know you said you had to go. I don't want to, are you okay?
Yeah, it's hard to leave this conversation.
Yeah,
so
because I do want to say something really important though, that so when you have a situation, I want to just address again what you were talking about what they're going to make it appear one way to anyone else looking, any others that might come in to see the court transcripts, or let's just say court records, okay? And they're going to make it look like, oh, that she was acquiescing. She's somebody that's, say maybe okay with that. But here's what, again, with tollandroll.com, we found out that we delivered evidence. I just want you guys all to know, in case we have to jump off, that there is a shadow docket going on behind the scenes in these cases. This is really important for the audience to know, because this is something that actually not only should be investigated, but also I will tell you that I'm with people who did bring this evidence, okay, to DOJ, and that there is a shadow courts that are working behind the scenes.
It's exactly, Roberta, what you said. The judge came in on her day off. She's operating in the secret.
Right.
You know?
It's a shadow court. It's a shadow docket. And this is how they're operating. And what we found is when we delivered this evidence to DOJ, and with the Government Accountability Department, I will tell you what, it went into how these are what you call counterfeit, forged, perjured documents, okay, is what they are. And this goes into a digital footprint, okay? And this is how they're stealing children, land, and APS cases across the United States. This is how they're doing medical kidnappings. So again, but when you walk in, you look at these court records and you see one set, but there's really a back door and a back set going on. So this is really important, because I think this needs to be addressed. And I think we need further discussion in these areas so people are aware and we educate them.
And Roberta, with your son, you said that, first of all, the judge came in on her day off and it seemed like no one knew where your son was, but also you said that they just conveniently lost documents. Your records are the only ones that exist now.
Right. And I want to tell you too, I relate to that, because in one of the states in my case, North Carolina, they destroyed the entire court record. And I actually, thank God, have them recorded. And I actually had another clerk who didn't know that she didn't know, by the grace of God, who I said, can you put that in writing for me? And I want it certified. But thank God, most parents aren't going to know to do that. Okay. And by that time I just learned, but when I first started, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know any of those things. Okay. So once again, and everybody here knows you can't destroy court records now, can you? Right. So,
well, the court can just pretend they never existed.
Right. But technically they shouldn't be doing that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Hello.
But this is the same government that said they had thousands and thousands of pounds of evidence with Epstein, and now, oh no, he really did kill himself.
Exactly.
So what I wanted to say, as far as this case in Oklahoma, again, this is medical kidnapping. Just like the Rivera case that Ann Vandersteel covered in Massachusetts and went to Texas, just like the Stamens, with their 7 children out of Louisville. There's so many stories. We're done with the stories. We can just keep going on with the stories. We are all about the remedy now, and that's what we're trying to really impress. It's now or never. We all know this.
And it's about us uniting and coming together about the remedy. It's about how does the Lord bring us all together, and let's march forward. Let's go. It's about the remedy and getting relief. Right.
Okay, and Peter, go ahead, Tom. Did you want to say something?
Here's the bad news. Yeah. The bad news is that the law is not only against you, but it's getting worse.
Yes.
So Texas just passed a constitutional amendment, Proposition 15, and that was called, and interestingly enough, the Parental Rights Amendment. And the thing about it is facially you look at it and it says, great, protecting parental rights. But within it, the language put a responsibility to nurture and protect on parents. And it didn't define that.
Right.
Now, listen, the way this works in the courtrooms, Big Pharma is going to come in and say, well, if you have a duty to protect your kids, you have a duty to vaccinate them. You have a duty to give them that chemo. You have a duty to do whatever the doctor says, because you have a duty to protect, a duty to do. And what does protect mean? See, so the law is not only bad, it's getting worse. And I will tell you, under the law, it is absolutely legal for them to do what they've done to Roberta, to Preston, to all of these people. I got a couple in Florida. I got a couple people in Florida. I've got people in all over the country, and it's completely legal. They can come in. They being the state, they can come in. They can tell that judge, "Hey, I need you to have a hearing," and we're not going to tell the parents. We're not going to tell them anything. It's an emergency. These parents are evil. We're going to have that hearing. And so they have a hearing. You don't even know what's happening. They come, they steal your kids. This is all legal. They take your kids, and then you find out you have 24 to 48 hours to get a lawyer to come into the follow-up hearing to get your child back. You're guilty until proven innocent. The law is abhorrent on this, and it is wildly unacceptable that in the red state of Oklahoma this is occurring. Now, I will tell you, we're working with Senator Shane Jett, who's an awesome guy.
Rock star.
To get some legislation on this. And he's waiting on me. Honestly, it's my fault. But there are solutions, but we have to fight, and we're going to have everybody on the Freedom Brigades, everybody in Oklahoma ready to fight this fight, because this is abhorrent. And if we don't take a stand in one country or one state, we're going to be in serious trouble, because it's getting worse, not better. California just passed a proposition that will now allow strangers to kidnap your kids because you don't want your kid to turn into a tranny. I mean, this is insanity on every single level. Parental rights don't exist. There's some other stuff out there. You do know that even our one of my favorite conservative justices of all time, Anthony Scalia, refused to recognize parental rights under the 9th Amendment in a case from 2000. The parental rights are not just weak, they're embarrassingly weak. And what's happened is these crooks, these absolute crooks, realize CPS gets more money when they've got custody of your kids.
Right.
So they collude with the doctors, who get more money when you buy their poisons and their chemos and their whatever it is that they're pushing from pharma. And they've colluded to lie and say this is medically necessary. Your kid's going to die if they don't get this, except for the proof is never there. The courts are too ignorant to know how to look at this. The courts have to have a lawyer to present the evidence, but very, very, very few lawyers in this country have the capacity to argue a medical necessity case. Very few. And if you can, you still have the uphill battle of convincing the judge that the doctor's a liar.
Yeah.
They usually are. So, I mean, this is a nightmare. Parents are not just behind the 8 ball. They're set into a position where if you don't want to follow the big pharma lies and poison your child's at risk, and it's getting worse.
Yes.
Amen. We totally agree with you 100%. And we're all about holding feet to the fire.
That's what this is. Yep. Hold their feet to the fire, because all they do is violate the law to enforce the law.
Yep.
So
sorry.
No, you're okay. The good news is that people are waking up, and there is a fight back. There is legislation being produced, and so hopefully we can get some more that way. There are people you can reach out to. What is the name of your website again? I know one is whereisjonahreef.com, and what is the other one?
The other one is tollenroll.com. And what we just want to let you all know there, and Tom, also and Charity, there is a bill that's on the House floor, and it's called it literally gets into a remedy. Okay. And it's all 50 states, by the way. And it's a Remedy and Restoration Act of HR 1776. And again, we will send that, but it does get into how this could be remedied, and how to get our children back and how to turn things around. JJ Humphreys was instrumental in helping get that into different offices. We were in Higgins' office in Louisiana. I mean, we were in various offices. Also, Sheriff Mack was with us. So there is some movement, I want to just say, and if we can all get behind that. I do believe that what you also said, Tom, that we also work with Doc Pete Chambers too, who is also interested in coming behind this. But you're right, we have to do this in each state also. And we have to do this on a local level, like Charity said. We have to have people getting involved in our local levels and start fighting from the ground up and take back a republic. So that's, we
do. And unfortunately, we're not going to get anywhere federally right this minute. No. It just can't happen. So we have to do it. But if we can make an impact, if we can take the reddest state in the country and get them to pass laws that, think about this, would allow parents to raise their children without the threat of state intervention. I mean, think about how is that not going to resonate in the reddest state in the country? Yet big pharma and special interests will try and make sure that it doesn't. But if we can get it passed in Oklahoma, it'll be a standard. It'll be created across the country. And I will be working with a couple other states to see if we can get similar legislation introduced. and we'll be pushing this real hard. I think there's hope, but it's going to be like everything else. You know, right now, unfortunately, we the people have all gone to sleep. Everything, oh, we got Trump, so we've won everything. No, we haven't. We're getting our butts handed to us across the board. And the fact that Donald Trump is there is being used as a reason for everybody to put their guns down. Unfortunately, we now have universal digital ID in this country. We're moving towards privatized cryptocurrency that's going to be basically a public-private CBDC. We're not making progress on Obamacare. We still have RNA vaccines being pushed out. We have medical kidnapping not just existing but growing. We are going the wrong direction, and it's time to pick up the guns and start fighting. And quit thinking that Donald Trump's going to win it all for us, because he's one man. He can't do it alone.
Amen. That's well said.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. All we're doing, everything we're doing is about freeing the captives, going from the innocent children also to the defiled who believe one lie and another. Because ultimately, if we get into the book of Jonah and all that, and you get into the fourth chapter where Jonah is getting rebuked by the Lord, doest thou well to be angry. And the Lord ends that chapter with saying, Jonah, there's 120,000 in Nineveh who cannot discern their left hand from their right. That is the pedophile, transhumanist, globalists. That's who are also, for anybody that can be saved, can we turn some of them back, that they can then be the force to turn more back? So again, we'll leave it there. There's so much more. We thank you so much, and we'd love to follow up with you all, our brothers and sisters.
We look forward to it. You guys go to freedombrigades.com, support other patriots. When you can donate to us there, but you can support yourself by not shopping these big box stores. That's how you get cancer. That is how you hurt yourself. And so if you will buy from patriots, not only do you support patriots, but you also keep yourself healthier. You can follow Tom there as well. That's freedombrigades.com. We are out of time, but I appreciate everyone coming on. We'll see you next week.
God bless.
God bless.
Bless.